In this video, I'm going to give you an update on my surfing journey. I'm also going to talk a little bit about kind of why I think conditions matter when it comes to surfing. And mainly, we're just going to take a look at kind of like from a new surfing perspective, how your ability and the conditions kind of impact your progression, how much fun you have in the water, how much risk you are to getting injured, and etc. And maybe a little bit of how, even though the conditions might not be ideal, you might still be able to get some value out of that. So that's pretty much the video. Today I'm trying out a little bit of a new format, so you guys let me know if you like it or not. Kind of switch it up from time to time. This is my 15th video, and like to keep it fresh and try new things. So I'm hopeful that you guys do like this format. So if you do, leave a comment, let me know, or tell me, that you like the normal formats that I do, which is a lot more beach and surf footage in those type of videos. I will say though, if you make it all the way to the end of the video, I will link a video from my last surf session. So just some of the highlights from that session. The conditions were definitely pretty intense. But yeah, if you make it to the end, that'll be I'll link that video in the description. All right, so let's just talk about, like, first and foremost, a lot of what I've been talking about in my videos is surfing ability and trying to get better at being a surfer. A lot of the things that, since I started trying to surf that I'm working on come down to positioning, paddle power, pop-up speed, like how quick I can get from my belly to my feet on a surfboard, board control, so stability and being able to angle it or do different things to just basically maximize your ride on the wave. And then the other piece is endurance. So those are really just kind of the things that I continue to work on as a new surfer. I continue to try to get better in these areas. And, like I said, for the most part, this to me is how ultimately I'm gonna live out my the journey that I'm on right now, which is basically learn how to surf with the goal of catching and riding an unbroken wave. I still haven't done that, but I continue to make a lot of progress in these areas. Just kind of a quick recap. This was me, like, I think almost a month ago, right? So it did not take me very long in my surfing journey to be able to stand up and ride on a wave. This wave I would really not consider to be unbroken in nature, so I'm also headed straight, and I really want to have that angle where I'm riding down the face. This came pretty, quick for me, but I've been stalled out for a little bit, and a big part of that I personally believe is conditions, and that's kind of why I want to talk about it. What you will see is this picture right here. Things are pretty calm. It is fall now, and the wind's been up a little bit. The surf's been a little bit bigger. The water's a little bit colder. A lot of different, conditions versus this day that, I was able to stand up and, essentially fall in love with surfing. So, yeah, kind of been stalled out for a month on that journey. But again, like I said, it's a little bit of conditions, and I had some aha moments that I kind of want to share with you about, ability and conditions, and kind of this pendulum that we are in right now as I continue to learn how to surf. And if you're learning to surf, you might find yourself in a similar place as well too. Let's just talk about conditions. And when I say conditions, everybody can think different things from conditions. I think a big driver in conditions is if you go to, like, I really like the Magic Seaweed to get surf reports, and a lot of the conditions that you're gonna find in there. What direction is the wave going in? How many seconds is the wave? What else is there? Wind and tide and all these other things. But the main conditions that I really want to talk about today, and specifically my journey to surf, is really just these primary conditions: one, current, wave size, and then the wave steepness, right? And I think the reason that I really want to focus on these areas is because they're really related to ability. And what I mean by that, like I told you guys, that like paddle power is important, right? Well, the thing about paddle power is in like when I'm in the lake on a paddle board, my paddle power is very powerful because there's no current whatsoever. And it just seems like I'm able to fly through the water. In the ocean, depending on your current, where I could feel like I'm a very strong paddler. As soon as you put some current in the mix, I'm not as strong of a paddler. And it requires more endurance to be able to paddle. It's harder to position when the current is going on. And so all these things that really line up for ability wise really start to also really matter in conditions like this. Wave size is kind of another thing, as well too. And with wave size, when you think about, well, board control matters even so much more, right? The ability to pop up matters so much more. The steepness of the wave means that you have to get to your feet maybe faster. You have to position in certain places to give yourself, the opportunity to, catch the wave and then stand up and before it's all closed out on you and things like that. And so, these primary conditions for me have really, the current's been a lot more the last few times that I've gone. The waves have been bigger. The waves have been a little bit steeper. That's really good conditions for people that are intermediate and, probably expert. But for a beginner, it's hindered my progression and my ability a little bit to continue to progress. And I do think that slowed me down a little bit. The other, kind of conditions that are in play as well too, going back to that picture of me on the wave, there wasn't that many people there today because not many people care to ride little tiny slow rolling waves that are easy to catch for a new surfer. So you get a lot of opportunity to catch more waves. You're not competing for waves with more surfers. As the conditions get better, I mean, I think the last time I was at the beach in the fall, there was, a large amount of surfers where on other days, maybe there's nobody to 1 to 2 people. So it just kind of depends. The other thing that I'll say too, kind of in the secondary risk area as well too, or the secondary area is risk, right? So as the waves get bigger, as the current gets more, the danger for injury increases, the danger for rip current increases, and, the likelihood of getting injured or drowning or all the things that, all the risks that exist with surfing kind of start to heighten. And, having a small wave hit you versus a big wave hit you is a different story as well too. So, that's kind of why I really personally from my perspective is it really does matter about the conditions and surfing. And, like I said, this isn't rocket scientists or any major breakthroughs, but I do just kind of want to cover this last little thing, which I'm just going to call the pendulum. And for the most part, I think we kind of already covered this, but it's like, right, so as the conditions start to exceed your ability, you're more likely to get injured. If the conditions are, above your ability, it probably can hurt your progression. If they're slightly above and you're being challenged, well, then that's an opportunity to grow as well too. So there's always just kind of pendulum of ability and conditions and how much growth that you can get out of it, right? Another thing is like the pendulum of fun, right? So when the ability and the conditions are right, that seems to be a really fun time from my perspective. Like I've had the most fun when my ability and the conditions match. So really kind of a good thing to keep in mind. But this last thing, the aha moment was essentially, something that I realized the last time I was at the ocean. So on a day where the conditions are a little bit easier, right? The current's less, the waves are a little bit smaller. There's not as many people. I can actually kind of go after the biggest waves because the biggest waves are 1.5 foot or 2 foot waves, and that's not a very big wave. On this last day, the biggest waves, obviously, all the surfers wanted those waves that were there. At least the best surfers wanted the big waves. But there's a lot of waves that are generally, kind of the secondary waves that maybe it breaks and then reforms. The other opportunity that I really feel like I missed out on is generally where I surf at if it's a small day, the white water isn't enough to really give you any momentum to be able to catch and ride a wave. But today, the last time I went, the white water was a great opportunity, and I wish I would have actually spent a little bit more time trying to catch some of the white water. That's not really what my goal is to catch whitewater waves and stand up on them. But one of the areas that I really do need to work on is paddling into waves versus pushing off the bottom into waves. And in hindsight, it was probably an opportunity to work on paddling into white water a little bit, and just working on that's a skill that I need to build. Maybe had I spent more time doing that versus chasing the unbroken waves, which were huge, and all the other surfers wanted them, and everything that went with that, looking for new opportunities. And I've talked about this in other videos as well too, like, hey, is there a benefit in still surfing on a flat day, or whatever that looks like, right? But yeah, always looking for those new opportunities. And that's just like the thing that I really wanted to share with you guys as well too. And a big takeaway that I took is, maybe on a day where the conditions aren't ideal for you, there's still an opportunity to be found, and there's still something that you can learn and grow in your surfing journeys. Definitely working on a little bit of a longer video, but if you did make it this far and you made it all the way to the end, I definitely would encourage you guys to subscribe to my account. I would appreciate that very much. Comment if you have a like. I would like, if you'd be willing to like the video, I would appreciate that a lot as well too. And then just any comments. So I think, specifically the comments I'm looking for is whatever you want to comment, but I am again curious, what do you think about this format versus some of the other formats that I've done? And the final piece is just, we talked about ability today, and ability matters. So if you have any comments on maybe how to be, a better surfer, or how I can improve my, ability as a new surfer, I'd love to hear that as well too. Other than that though, thanks for watching, and check out this video that I told you would be there if you made it all the way to the end for my last surf session. And other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much. Bye.